everyone, my name is Bruce and I'd like to welcome you to today's episode of the Kit Bash Kitchen. In today's episode, we're going to put a Kit Bash spin on a peach pie recipe by combining it with another fruit flavor. So if you manage to completely ignore the title of this episode, you'd be asking yourself, what kind of other fruit flavor is he referring to? Well, that would be cloudberries. So now you're probably asking yourself, what kind of culinary nightmare did he have to come up with such a half-baked idea? And although I appreciate your concern for my mental well-being, I didn't actually come up with this idea. These guys did, or at least they're one of the guys who came up with it. So I figured if it worked for an Icelandic skyr, why not try it out in a pie? And as it turns out, it makes a very tasty pie indeed. So that's what we're going to do today. So without further ado, let's go over the ingredients to put a pie with cloudberries and peaches together.
Okay, starting with a pie crust. Nothing special here. This is straight out of the Betty Crocker cookbook. And I also have an egg here for which I'm going to capture the egg white to give it a wash to moisture proof it so that when I add the rest of the ingredients it doesn't get soggy. Next we need 5 cups of diced peaches. I have 7 here to serve as a margin of error, and during the dicing process I'm going to capture any juice that falls, as we need a cup of juice to formulate the basis of our filling sauce, with some residual water here to ensure that we have at least a cup. To our filling mixture, we will add some sugar, some cornstarch, a little bit of vanilla, some cinnamon, and some lemon juice. And then, of course, our Cloudberry Jam, which you should be able to find at any IKEA or you can get it from Amazon. Moving on to our streusel topping, it will be made out of butter, some brown sugar, some flour, and finally our pecans. Lastly, we'll move on to our cloudberry topping, which will be made from heavy whipping cream, a little bit more of our cloudberry jam, some vanilla, and some sugar. So let's get started putting our pie together, starting with peeling our peaches. Okay, I have some boiling water here on the stove. We're going to put our peaches in here for approximately 1 minute so we can blanch them. This should loosen up the skins and hopefully make them very easy to peel. At least that's how it's supposed to work in theory. Okay, our peaches have been in for approximately a minute. We're going to fish them out one by one, and then we're going to let them cool down and take them over to the counter to hopefully peel them with ease. Now that our peaches have cooled off, it's time to peel them. Now in theory, if you have really good ripe peaches and you've blanched them, you should be able to just cut a little indentation and get your knife underneath the peel and just pull the rest off like a sheet of paper. Unfortunately, the peaches I bought for this video are not cooperating, so we're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way. As such, I also am taking a little bit of the peach flesh with it, so I'm going to have to dip into my reserve peaches to get to my 5 cups worth of diced peaches. So as I understand it, there are actually 2 types of peaches out there in the world. There are freestone peaches and non-freestone peaches. As you can see, the peaches that I bought for this video happen to be the non-freestone peaches, which means it's going to complicate things a little bit, but we'll just cut around the pit, dice up the remainder of the peaches, and take it as a lesson for this recipe to always have a couple reserve peaches to make up for any shortfall. So this is my 7th peach, and as you can see, I have just enough to get to 5 cups worth of diced peaches. Now it's time to move on to create our filling. So if the peaches you purchased were juicy enough, you should be able to capture some residual juice in the bowl for which you placed the diced pieces. In a perfect world, hopefully you would have been able to capture an entire cup's worth of juice. If not, fill in the rest with water. As you can see here, I didn't get any juice, so we're going to go with an entire cup's worth of water. To this, we'll be adding 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, 1/2 cup of sugar, 1/2 cup of our Cloudberry Jam, our secret ingredient, and then finally 1/4 cup of cornstarch. We are then going to cook this on medium heat for about 5 to 8 minutes, which should be long enough for our filling to thicken. Okay, now that we've reached the desired consistency, we remove it from the heat and allow it to cool down completely. Once our filling has completely cooled down, then we simply add in our diced peaches, spilling a few, and give it a stir and set it aside. Now at this point you could proceed directly with making the pie, or you could choose to place it in the fridge for a couple of days, or you could choose to put it in a freezer safe container and put it in the freezer for making a pie at a later date. Okay, now let's move on to preparing our crust. As you can see, I've separated the egg white from the egg yolk. We use the egg white to coat the inside of the crust to moisture proof it, which prevents the crust from becoming soggy from pie juices during the baking process. We then discard the excess egg white and then place our pie on our foil-lined baking tray. It's now time to add our filling to our pie crust and spread it around evenly. The pie is now ready to receive our streusel topping, which is our next step. To make our streusel topping, we will start with 1 stick of butter, which I've already put in the bowl, and we will add 1/2 cup of brown sugar to that, 1 cup of flour to that, and then finally 1 cup of pecans to complete the mix. This is where the fun begins. Using your hand, work the mixture until it turns into a nice crumbly streusel topping. Moments later, and a little bit of magical video editing, our streusel is ready to go, and we apply it to the top of our pie. Once we've added all of the streusel topping, we simply cover the pie with aluminum foil and it's ready to bake in the oven for half an hour at 400 degrees. After a half hour has passed, we remove it from the oven and then we remove the foil and return it to the oven to bake at 400 for another half hour. After the second half hour, we remove it from the oven and allow it to cool. At this point, we could serve the pie as is, but that would fly in the face of the Kit Bash Kitchen operational charter. So we're going to take things a step further by creating a Cloudberry Fluff topping. So we'll start off with 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, followed by 1 cup of heavy cream, and then 3 tablespoons of sugar. Then using our handy dandy mixer here, we will blend this until we turn it into a whipped cream. Okay, now that we have some peaks forming, and before we create butter out of this, we will stop and then we will add in our 1/4 cup of Cloudberry Jam, for which we will gently fold into the mix. And now the moment we've all been waiting for, we just simply put a dollop or 2 of our Cloudberry Fluff onto our pie slice and sit down and enjoy it.
And there you have it. Peach cloudberry pie with a cloudberry infused whipped cream to go with it as an accent. The only applicable tweak I could come up with for this recipe is if you're concerned about the level of sugar in the pie filling itself. If your peaches are sweet enough, you should be able to reduce or eliminate that sugar altogether and just let the peaches and the cloudberry jam carry the day. So that's going to do it for today's episode. If you've liked what you've seen here today, please subscribe to my channel. And until next time, keep kit bashing in your kitchen.